My name is Celine Cunningham. I'm the Senior Associate Athletic Director and a Senior Women Administrator at Bates College. I want to welcome you to our virtual National Girls and Women in Sport Day celebration. Let's get started by meeting some Bobcats from around the country.
Hello from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii. My name is Janelle and I'm currently a junior majoring in biology. I play on the Bates softball varsity team. Softball has taught me perseverance and determination.
Hi, I'm Sofsky Wong Smith from Los Angeles, California. I'm on the swim team and I'm a psychology and Chinese major. Swimming has given me a family away from home.
Hey, my name is Katie and I'm a member of the Bates volleyball team and software economics major. I am from sunny Los Angeles, California. My favorite part of playing volleyball is being able to play with the best teammates in the world.
Hello from El Salvador. My name is Erica Parker. I'm a math major and I'm on the Bates squash team. My favorite part about being on a team is that I see my teammates as my second family.
Hi, my name is Haley Washington and I'm from Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. I'm a biochem major. I'm also the captain of the Bates women's tennis team. Tennis has taught me confidence and perseverance.
Hey everybody, my name is Julia Middlebrook. I'm from Ridgefield, Connecticut. I'm on the women's basketball team and I'm a history major at Bates. One of my favorite things about being on a team is that I'm surrounded by a great group of girls that motivate me to work hard as well as to make me laugh.
Hi, from Rhode Island. My name is Cece Pilgrim and I'm a sophomore biology major on the Bates women's soccer team. My sport has taught me to lead by example.
Hi, I'm Amanda Kaufman, coming from Martha's Vineyard Island. I'm a member of the women's track and field team. I'm a psychology and gender sexuality studies double major. My sport has taught me you are always stronger than you think and you can do anything you put your mind to.
Hi, my name is Megan. I'm from South Portland, Maine. I play for the Bates women's basketball team and I'm double majoring in politics and sociology. Basketball has given me an outlet for my competitive drive and countless opportunities to fulfill goals and expectations in a team-oriented environment.
Nice pass, Meg. What an amazing introduction. Bates athletes passing the ball from Hawaii to Maine. Hello all, and thank you for joining us in our celebration of National Girls and Women in Sports Day. My name is Christina Marquette. I'm the assistant women's basketball coach at Bates College, and I will serve as the moderator for this panel. I'm so excited to be here with all of you, and I cannot wait to introduce our amazing panel of athletes. But first, I want to give you some background on this day. National Girls and Women in Sports Day was first celebrated in 1987 in remembrance of Flo Hyman, a U.S. Olympic volleyball player who died suddenly and tragically during a match in Japan of a rare genetic condition, Marfan syndrome. When first celebrated, this day recognized Flo for her athletic achievements and her dedication to promoting the equality of women's sports. Over the last 35 years, National Girls and Women in Sports Day has brought national attention to the promise of girls and women's sports and has evolved into an event celebrating the accomplishments of female athletes, acknowledging the positive influence of sports participation, and recognizing the continued need to push for equality for women in sport. So, such a meaningful day to be a part of, especially now when we are all missing sports a little bit more. All right, let's get to the main event and introduce our panel. We have 5 Bates athletes here with us today, and I will have each of them introduce themselves and describe in just a few words their favorite part about being on their team. Erica, if you want to start us off.
Sure. Hi, my name is Erica Parker. I'm a sophomore. I'm on the squash team. I'm majoring in math. And probably my favorite part about being on a team is that I see my teammates as a family.
Hi, my name is Grace Biddle. I'm a sophomore. I'm on the field hockey team and I'm an English major. And my favorite part of being on the field hockey team is our team values and the atmosphere we create for each other.
Hi, I'm Lauren. I'm a senior. I'm a swimmer and a psychology major. And I'd have to say my favorite thing about being on the swim team is the friendships I've created.
Hi, I'm Catherine. I'm also a senior. I'm on the women's lacrosse team and I'm an economics major. And my favorite thing about being on the women's lacrosse team is kind of this sub community that I have at Bates.
Hi, I'm Taylor McVeigh. I'm class of 2022 now because I'm on a gap year, should have been 2021. I'm a biology major and I'm on the women's basketball team. And my favorite part of being on my team is I get to compete with my best friends every day.
All right, thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves. And how we'll approach this panel is I'll talk to each of you individually, and then we'll come back as a group and kind of discuss the importance of this day and the theme that we have this year of Lead Her Forward. And then we'll end with a little fun rapid fire round. Erica, I'm super excited to talk to you. Thank you so much for agreeing to be on this panel. When we spoke earlier, I loved how you spoke about your love of squash beginning really close to home, but ultimately took you all over the world. And I was wondering if you could share with everyone that journey that you had from getting started to sort of the moment you really fell in love with it to what it has become in terms of like your traveling and experiences and things.
Yeah, so I started out just watching my siblings and my dad play, and I just want to be part of it as well. So then I started training. Then I remember that I played my first tournament when I was about 9 years old, and without expecting anything, I won. To be honest, I loved that feeling, so I wanted to keep winning. And that's when I started training every day and dedicating more time to squash. After a few years, squash became part of my daily routine. It started it started being super competitive for me, and I started competing in national and international tournaments. This allowed me to get to know different cultures and form friendships all over the world. And of course, I was always doing what I love the most, squash. Then I represented El Salvador in almost every country in South and Central America, also in Canada and Cayman Islands. And the best experience was when I was elected as a squash ambassador to represent squash as a showcase sport at the Youth Olympic Games in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So that was kind of like my journey in this sport.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like just speaking with you, clearly you're such a competitor, which speaks so much to me, like love competing and winning. But something you also kind of talked about is as you started getting more and more serious and the competition got better and better, you weren't always winning. And so as much as that was like what you wanted, you really struggled with some of those failures, but your dad was kind of a big role model in both pushing you, but also helping you through those struggles. And I was just kind of wondering if you could share what advice your dad gave you, and then how has your perspective evolved over time to now being a college athlete?
Sure, like you said, I'm super competitive. So when I didn't win, I felt like the biggest failure off the planet. And I sacrificed and dedicated a lot of time to prepare myself before every tournament. And yet many times I didn't place third, maybe not even fourth. So after losing, I felt super frustrated. But one day my dad asked me if I regret all the time I sacrificed and dedicated to the sport. Obviously, by that time I was super angry, and I just told him that it had been a waste. He asked me if the friendships I made through squash were a waste, if I didn't enjoy every training session, and if representing my country was not worth it. He also asked me if the time we spent together as a family playing and talking about squash was a waste. And now that I look back, I realize that everything I learned is worth it, and probably worth more than than any trophy. So
Yeah, it's so cool. Like just the idea of course, we all are competing and want to win, but when we walk away, whether a winner or a loser, there's so many other things that we've gained from this experience. And I think you kind of talked about it like as your prize. And there's a trophy, but you can also have, the friendships and the experiences and, now playing in the NESCAC and stuff. So that's so awesome. And thank you so much for being on our panel. Grace, thank you so much for agreeing to be here. I spoke to me a little bit. You grew up playing basketball, love that, basketball coach. But ultimately you ended up as a collegiate field hockey player here at Bates. Can you share just a little bit more about how you got into field hockey and how your coaches influenced you along the way?
Yeah, of course. As you said, I grew up playing basketball and I loved that sport, but it was always really competitive. A lot of girls play basketball, 5 on the court. It was always a different feel. It was way more accessible. I grew up having male coaches, which taught me a lot and really were great in some sense, but I'd never really even experienced having a woman coach. And then in 8th grade, I started playing field hockey purely for fun. It was some of my friends just decided to try it out. None of us had ever played. And it was all women staff because in our country, there's not really men's teams. It's not really like a program or a sport that's targeted towards men. And that was really just a whole new experience for me, getting to play something that was totally all about being a girl and how strong you can be, and also playing it purely for fun. I didn't even really start to think about playing in college until the end of my sophomore year, my junior year of high school. And I reached out to a couple schools, and my coach, Coach Koget, really just was the most awesome person I'd ever met. She really made it seem like playing in college and playing field hockey was the best path for me. And she played in college as well, and she was also a goalkeeper, which I am, and she just really spoke to me and everything I loved about the game.
I think too, something that gets lost as we we get so focused on getting to college, and you lose some of that fun as a younger player, whether it's in middle school or high school. And it's so awesome that you kind of had the experience where no, I was just doing this for fun and I got really good at it because I enjoyed it. And here I am now, a collegiate athlete. So that's great. And I'm glad you brought up Coach Koget, because I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, her leadership. You've kind of described her as someone, when you think of, Bates field hockey and your values, she is it, and she embodies them all the time. And so I was hoping you can talk a little bit more about your coach's leadership, given the theme this year of Lead Her Forward. What are some of the team values? I know you said that's one of your favorite things about your team. What are some of your team values? How does she live by them? And just kind of expressing the importance of women leaders and role models in athletics.
Yeah, of course. We have 5 team values that we practice as a team and talk about and really try to check in and see how we're fulfilling. They all go along with just our team environment and just how we can be the best that we can be every day at practice, and checking in on more of a mental health and things with instead of just always being how well our skills are actually performing every day. And we started these last year when I was a freshman, and my coach, she checks in on them all the time. She embodies each and every one by really just being present in all of our lives all the time, constantly checking in, knowing us all on a personal level. And she just always makes us realize our responsibilities for the team by she's always meeting them and always being exactly what you'd expect from a coach. And even if she's having an off day, you can never really tell. She's always the perfect role model for us. And that's just really helped me and the rest of our team see how being a leader to groups of girls means a lot more than just just saying that you're a coach. I mean, she's really a leader and a role model and to all of us.
Yeah, I loved how you kind of talked about building the relationships, checking in on you. That's almost more important, right, than knowing what I need to do technically to stop this ball, or what schemes we're going to run, because that kind of helps everyone maximize their potential. And build team unity and stuff. So I love that you touch on that, and like so awesome, like such great values for your team to have. Thanks again for being on this panel, and we'll catch you at the end when we talk a little bit more as a group. Hi, Lauren. Thank you again for being on this panel. I'm super excited to talk to you as well. And something that we talked about was this year for you was kind of a year of reflection. And you talked a little bit about thinking about sort of your experiences and identity kind of related to being a Black swimmer. And when you spoke about it, you described yourself as a chameleon. And so I kind of wanted to ask if you could tell us a little bit more about what you meant by that, and then how you feel your identity has evolved over the course of your career and the perspective you have now, given the reflections you've done this year.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying most people, when they think of the sport of swimming, they think of it being a white sport. But when I started swimming competitively, I was surrounded by people that looked like me. And so I think that in itself is just so different from a lot of people's experiences. But I started off in summer swim only, and then as I fell in love with the sport, I joined a club team, and a lot of my friends also joined the same club team. And so that club team became really diverse. And so that was kind of my little bubble until we went to swim meets. And then we kind of realized that wasn't normal. But because that was only one day, we went back, and it was just like, I didn't realize the magnitude of how much that, like, of how special that kind of environment was, especially within the sport of swimming. And so that's something, but I obviously didn't realize it until I reflected back on it. And as I grew up, a lot of my friends kind of stopped swimming around the age of 13 and 14, so end of middle school. And I ended up going to a predominantly white Catholic all-girls school for high school, and I was the only Black person or woman on the team. And so that was a very different experience for me. But because I identified so much as a club swimmer, high school swim wasn't really in the forefront of my mind. And it was kind of just like me going through the motions in order to get into college swim. And so I also didn't really realize a lot of the differences that I was experiencing that my peers weren't experiencing. And so that was something else. And then I moved on to college swimming, and I was still the only Black woman on the team for the first 2 years. And that was more isolating than it was in high school, but because my team was so cohesive and accepting and loving, it wasn't a huge factor in my swim career. And so yeah, so when I said chameleon, I meant like as my swim life and my environment changed, I kind of adopted this the same way of life as the people around me. And so I kind of became more whitewashed as the years went on, and actually didn't fully realize until I went into college and started taking more classes that expanded my education on what it means to be Black, even though I had been experiencing it every day, as oddly as it sounds. But yeah, so that's kind of what I meant by being a chameleon.
And I think too, just kind of the way you started swimming, like the importance of just having representation and supporting people from very different backgrounds to continue to do a sport, because when you have people that look like you, it makes you more comfortable and want to be there. And then you eventually just fell in love with the sport. And so it kind of, the rest of it mattered, but you were able to, like you said, you adapted and changed, but the importance of like getting started, right? And that was like a big factor for you.
Right.
And great. And so, you know, you talked about how supportive your team is. And, you know, I think with everything that's happened this past year, a lot of teams are starting to have different conversations than they normally would. And a lot of those are difficult, passionate. People have very strong opinions. And your team, you said, was no exception to this. But you said through those conversations, you feel you've grown both as a person, and also you found maybe new support around you that you weren't necessarily expecting or you didn't know that you had before. So can you share a little bit about your experience with your team and some of these difficult conversations and how you ultimately, you described it as finding joy this year?
Yeah. So the first 2-3 years being on Bates swim team, I was obsessed with the team. I loved how cohesive and supportive and like a family we were. And so this year, with a lot of things happening in the country and within colleges, I realized that that cohesiveness was pretty much just because we focused on swimming and nothing else. And so this year, I'm lucky enough to have a senior class that finds puts so much importance on like life outside of swimming, and everyone's experiences based on life outside of swimming within swimming. Our coaches immediately got on board, which was amazing. Like, I don't think I've had a coach that was that fast to be on board with something that wasn't swimming. And so that was really amazing to experience. But we've had a lot of conversations and Zooms and like individual conversations also within the team about difficult topics. And I think that having those conversations is not only it's good for everyone in educating each other, but it's also great in understanding where people are coming from, because like I just explained my whole background, and like that is a completely different experience than the person next to me. And obviously because of that, I'm going to have different opinions. And so I think that's really important in coming to a common ground and getting rid of any like barriers of tension within a team to understand where everyone is coming from originally. But yeah, my joy has come from the senior class being so supportive of me and of the team. And then also from my coaches, because coaches are always like, you can come to me for everything, whatever you need, I'm here. But like, I never really took that like literally. I kind of just was like, oh, they're being nice, like whatever, it's swimming is swimming. Like I'll come and I'll swim and I'll, move on with my life. But yeah, they really, I do think that I can go to them for literally anything, and that's just an amazing feeling. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And kind of something you spoke to too is like our differences make us just as strong, right? Like can make our relationships just as strong as our commonalities. Like we're always trying to find common ground, but like we're not trying to change anybody's story. We're trying to understand where everyone's coming from. And we'll check in with you again at the end. We'll have a little larger discussion, but I'm going to bring Catherine in now. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to chat with you. You kind of have had a really non-traditional college experience. And I know talking to you, you said sort of from a really early age, lacrosse was focused on being a college athlete. Yeah. And you're now in your senior year. The season's up in the air. We got our fingers crossed. But you've only had one season now. But you also kind of spoke a lot about lacrosse being a huge part of your identity. So I was wondering if you would speak a little bit about how has that experience of like, you worked so hard to be a college athlete, you went through a lot of unexpected adversities, and now you've only had one season, hoping for another one. So your identity's tied to being a lacrosse player, but we haven't had the competition you were expecting. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there is something to be said about the fact that as a young athlete, if you are doing a really good job at what you're doing, oftentimes you see, wow, I think there's this great opportunity to do this in college maybe. And obviously that happened for me at an early age. And I think there's something to be said about going into college. Everyone expects I'm going to have 4 years. I'm going to play all the time. It's going to be this amazing storybook experience. And for most athletes, it's not like that. And so when I got to my previous college, I had this idea in my head. And when I went to transfer, it kind of changed everything because I didn't play that spring. And so coming to Bates, I knew it was going to be a brand new opportunity. At the D3 level, it's just a way better balance of life. So I was super excited to get on the field. And obviously I had a great sophomore year. It was an amazing experience. I loved my team. But last year being canceled and this year being up in the air, it's really led me to realize that so much of this life has been dedicated to getting to the collegiate level. And now in reflection, I realized how important my youth lacrosse and my high school lacrosse, my club lacrosse was to actually forming who I was. And as much as college athletics is this amazing opportunity, for me, it hasn't happened that much. And so what have I actually gained as an athlete and how has lacrosse shaped my identity? And I absolutely think it's been an integral part of becoming who I am. I think lacrosse has given me the opportunity to find my voice, find work ethic and grittiness, and has challenged me in ways that I probably would not have had the opportunity to if I wasn't an athlete and if I wasn't striving for that next level. So I think the biggest thing is it's given me all these relationships. It's connected me with my physical body. It's connected me with new friendships, going out of the box, trying new things. And I think that's been the biggest thing. And it's been a hard pill to swallow, not having this expansive college career, but I think there's so much more that lacrosse has given me than just the kind of storybook collegiate experience that I thought I was going to have.
Yeah, definitely. I know sport, like you kind of spoke to it a lot about like the adversities that you face, and you can't fake adversity, right? Like coaches try to in practice sometimes, we try to put players in different positions, but ultimately like sports just, there's so many different things that pop up, and you ultimately you fail all the time. Like, you miss a shot, you whatever, turn the ball over almost on the daily. And so it does kind of help you, like teach you that work ethic. And if you continue to follow this process, like really great things are going to happen. And obviously for you, like, you might not have had the storybook college experience, but you also are a college athlete and you're going to leave here with a degree and, a job, hopefully. So many great things too. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about leadership because you're a captain of your team. And so what are some things you've learned about leadership through sport, but then also talk about being a leader right now, obviously so much uncertainty and adversity that no one really could have prepared for a year ago.
Definitely. So I think much of my leadership style and opportunities have come from learning from other coaches or leaders that I've experienced in the past. So having the opportunity to go to camps and play for different club teams and play for different schools, I've had the opportunity to kind of see different leadership styles and have mentors and coaches and even other captains when I was an underclassman that have really shaped who I am. And I think the biggest thing is when you don't have a season, and especially with last year and this year, you have such a range of kind of where people are. So for first years, they're so excited. They've worked so hard to get here. So how do you engage them in the same way as people taking their final lap? I mean, it's such a different experience, especially for people like me who maybe haven't played as much during college or people who haven't gotten off the bench as much. I think there's so many different pieces that come together. So being able to assess what needs are where and kind of how you can best kind of lead the pack and lead the herd with different styles, because I know there are on every team kids who want to be pushed and want to be yelled at, and kids who maybe need more compliments or more kind of like guidance. So I think with not having a season last year or a shortened season and the possibility of not having a season this year, although we hope, obviously, I think it's so much more about the growth process, staying focused on why you play the sport, what you get out of it, other than just the competition aspect. And I think that's the biggest thing. The more that you can focus on the skills, the friendships, the community, the opportunities that you get from playing a sport in college, more than just winning or losing in a game, I think that's the biggest piece of kind of staying engaged and getting the most out of kind of this unexpected territory.
Yeah, and I think kind of speaking to your leadership skills, the ability for you to think through all of that while you're on your final lap, and really wanting to continue to lead the people that may have another year and have another season if this doesn't work out. So I think that that's, kudos to you and your leadership right now. It's great.
Thanks.
All right, we'll check in with you again at the end here, but I want to bring Taylor in, our last panelist. So I'm excited to talk to you because you're in a little bit of a different situation. You are currently taking the year off, and you kind of did this because you wanted to study for the MCAT and prepare for med school, but you also ended up coaching at your alma mater, the high school girls team, the freshman girls team. And you kind of told me like you weren't originally sure if you wanted to do it, worried about time, obviously wanted to study and focus on med school, but you ultimately chose to. So what were some of those factors that kind of swayed you to coach this year?
Yeah, so I definitely had a little bit of internal conflict because logistically I'd planned out this entire year very like strictly. That's how I am. So logistically, I was like, okay, I really have to be flexible with this coaching opportunity. They told me I needed to be flexible, like hours wise, everything with COVID. But then when I got the email, I obviously was like, oh my gosh, of course, like I want to be involved with basketball, taking this year away, just really having to do a lot of things on my own. I just wanted to do that. But then when I really just took a step back, it kind of aligned with my goals for this year anyways. It was parallel in a lot of forms. Like one of the things that is so interesting to me in medicine is the cycle of education that's involved and just how parallel that is with coaching. And at this point in my life, the thing that I feel most knowledgeable about is probably basketball. Like that's one of the top things that I think that I can teach. So it just became sort of a no-brainer for me and just kind of rearranging my schedule. And one of the major things was just thinking about my mentors when I was growing up through basketball. I mean, my mentors now, you and Coach Montgomery. And then when I was younger, my aunt coached me. And then I also had a very young female high school coach when I was in high school. So I think just reflecting upon how important it was to have those role models in my life at every single stage of the development of basketball. So I just kind of felt like I had this ability to go back to my former high school and just kind of be part of that cycle of building these girls' IQ in basketball and building their skills in basketball. So yeah, it just sort of became something that I rearranged my whole entire year round. And it's been so fun so far to kind of see their growth throughout the season.
Awesome. Yeah, I know. For me, obviously getting into coaching, it was like, this taught me everything I know about life. Like, love the bio lab, but I learned so many things through basketball, and it was like, I want to, continue to be a part of that. So we've had actually a lot of our panelists talk about how sport has helped them grow, like through failure and adversity. But you're actually coaching a really successful team. And one of the things we've talked about is it's actually a challenge to coach, like you're talking about, grow knowledge of the game or learn fundamentals or stay disciplined and things like that. So talk a little bit about coaching a team that maybe hasn't faced that adversity or those challenges or those failures, and like how you continue to motivate them, and what are some of those challenges that you face as a coach with a team that is like, we're good.
Right. So yeah, I definitely am very lucky. They're a very talented team, not in any way at the freshman level of competition. So it's definitely brought about its challenges, just trying to keep them engaged in what they're doing and what the goal of this season is, which is 1, to get better, and 2, to have fun, especially surrounding all of what everyone is going through right now. So I think the major thing that I've been trying to push with them is not to be complacent or satisfied with what they've accomplished so far, because I feel like in a season, a lot of what people both outside and inside of the team kind of measure your success based on the games you play and the competition. And for us, the competition doesn't really measure up to where our standards are and where we've set the standards for our team. So I think just trying to engage them to continue to evaluate the goals that we've set to our standards. And I think this is also something that you and Coach Montgomery have pushed in our team. So I've been trying to push that in my team with just having goals in practice and really, I mean, you practice more than you play in games. So just trying to keep them competing in practice, living up to the goals, having expectations. If they don't reach the expectations, then we're going to hold ourselves accountable, whether that's running or something else. And then also, if they do exceed expectations, that's just raised the bar for the next time that we do that drill. And then just kind of having them continue to embrace the ability that they have to kind of raise their game and push themselves, irrespective of any outside pressures or the magnitude of those pressures, and just having them find that internal drive to push themselves more past any limits that they've set for themselves.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a huge fan of goals, as you know. And so, yeah, great to hear that you're implementing them with your team. Welcome back. Well, awesome discussions. I want to kind of have a larger group discussion now. Obviously, this year's theme is lead her forward. And I just wanted to hear a little bit from everyone about what that means to you, and like how you feel you apply it in you know, kind of your everyday life. Like, you guys are all college athletes, so very clearly moving women's sports forward for sure. And I kind of will just start it off. I feel like I should share a little bit to get the discussion going, but I've chosen a career and essentially a lifestyle, right, as a coach, and have just felt that sport has provided me some of the strongest relationships, friendships, and skills for my life. It's kind of, everyone spoke to this, like adversity. It's kind of shown me what I've been made of, and wanting to help young women find out what they're made of and realize that they can go out into this world and do whatever they want, even if someone hasn't done it before them, and giving them the confidence and the strength to kind of do that. So I try to do that as a coach as much as I can. And that's sort of what this day means to me, is empowering each other to go out and do what we're most passionate about. And I will leave it up to you guys. Who wants to lead us off?
I can start. So I have coached a bit just like Taylor, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have also been coaching, but I think the biggest thing is I definitely remember going to camps when I was little and seeing the college athletes there and just seeing them as like these gods and these people that I really wanted to be like. And so I think the opportunity to kind of be that representation for someone else and be that type of person where they want to be just like you one day, I think is extremely important in creating role models, and just obviously, yeah, having someone that looks like you or you can strive to be like, I think is so important in allowing people to have goals. Like, I want to be like that one day.
Kind of going off of that, I have something that I tried to do is reach out to girls I played with in high school and when I was younger, just because I think that a lot of times people don't think about playing in college, especially for maybe field hockey, where a lot of kids start playing later. So being that role model, like you said, of showing that girls, like, you can do this, you can play in college. There's so many different options. It's not always just Division I or going pro or whatever. There's so many options to play in college, and being that role model is really a great way to lead other girls.
Yeah, I think I've always had a goal of making, like, kind of the saying of, if you leave the space, leave it better than you came. And I think that's been a pretty big thing for me. And so I'm actually a part of the Agents of Change group on campus, and the Athletes of Color Coalition. And I think I was one of the athletes who brought it up to the athletic department, and my whole goal in that was to make the experiences that people have in the future better than my experiences with sports, specifically with swimming, but with athletic departments in general. So that's definitely important.
Probably for me, it's just like about being an international student. Of course, it's kind of like scary to go kind of like far away from home and just be part of like a new team without even probably knowing anything about the team. But it's just about giving it a try, because if you don't try it, then you don't know how amazing it's going to be. And there are always people that are going to be there for you, especially your teammates are going to support you, encourage you to be better. So it's just about giving it a try and enjoying the process.
Yeah, I think for me, lead her forward, I think probably echoes a lot of what KG said already. And just having that role model, like I mentioned before, a lot of my coaches growing up were all female role models, and how important that was for my engagement in the game, and realizing how far you can really strive to succeed in basketball. So yeah, I think just having those role models that are like you is really important.
Yeah, awesome. And you are all definitely great role models. So thank you for your input there. And the last thing I want to do is do a little rapid fire round of just asking you to give a one-word answer, and then I'll ask you to give a short answer. But in one word, what would each of you say is the most important quality in a leader?
I would say integrity.
I would say compassion.
I'll say commitment.
Empathy.
Dedicated.
Love that. All of those are so great. And then just to sign off here, advice you'd give to your younger self.
So for me, like I mentioned earlier, I'm very much a planner, but I would tell my younger self to try to be more spontaneous. You don't have to plan everything. I mean, that's how coaching came about for me. So I think just take the opportunities that are given to you, even if they don't align always with what you are striving for.
I would tell my younger self to do what you like and do what's fun, and don't always, just because you've done something for a long time doesn't mean that you don't have to try something new or let it go if it doesn't make you happy anymore.
I will tell my younger self it is worth the try.
To mirror what Taylor said, I was also a huge planner, but I would tell my younger self to enjoy the experience more than anything, and not go through the motions every day just because that's what I'm used to. So yeah, have fun, enjoy the experience as well.
I guess my word of advice would be, since lacrosse is not a lifetime sport, it ends at the end of college unless you play pro women's lacrosse. Learn to enjoy all the opportunities to just play and to just mess around with friends. It's not always about getting recruited. It's not always about, refining specific things. Just really learn how to just love laughing on the field and enjoying just playing with friends.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that is everything I have for us. Thank you all for joining me. Our time together has come to an end. I want to give one last thank you to Erica Parker, Grace Biddle, Lauren Boucret, Catherine Grennan, and Taylor McVeigh. Thank you for this amazing panel, and thank you for tuning in and spending your Wednesday afternoon with us. As we sign off, the slideshow you're about to see contains photos prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. We covered so many important topics today, but we also want to remind everyone that sports are fun. So enjoy these photos of our Bates athletes doing exactly that, having fun together.